Good afternoon friends, and I welcome you to our laser engraving and 3D printing room. Today we are focusing on how we at our crafting facility here in Thailand achieve those unique logos and hallmarks that you see on jewelry pieces. We actually use three very different methods or ways in achieving these marks, and I'll be going into detail on each with you today. The first is that we hand stamp the logo or hallmark using our special hand tooling. The second is that we laser engrave the logo and or hallmark, and the third is that the logo and or hallmark is already embedded into the master or mold of the jewelry piece before casting. All three processes are done at my manufacturing plant, and I'm going to go through each backed up with visuals and videos of course, so stay watching through to the end, and also I'll explain a little bit more about how our customers, particularly the new jewelry designer, where they may not know about the different methods in achieving their logos. Things like where the best location would be, the sizes, and all those typical questions that we ask. So yes, make sure you stay tuned to the end. If you guys are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Kim and I'm owner of Thai Design Distributors, which is our UK company, as well as my crafting and jewelry production facility in Thailand. We are a third generation family business specializing in manufacturing high-end sterling silver and solid gold jewelry for retailers, wholesalers, and exclusively for jewelry brand designers around the world. We have our own in-house jewelry range, but most of what we do is the exclusive production for our jewelry designer customers. I've been in the industry for over 20 years and previously based in the UK, but recently relocated to Thailand to be at the heart of our business, and it's been great. My aspiration and the purpose of this channel is to share my unique knowledge and extensive experience of working with jewelry designers to anyone who is keen or interested in starting or expanding their jewelry brand and looking to outsource the production of their jewelry. I really hope you find the topics and videos helpful and interesting, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest topics that I have to share. Welcome back guys. Well, I have worked and looked after hundreds of jewelry brand designers over the last 20 years of my career at Thai Design Distributors, and I can say for sure that almost all of our branded jewelry designer customers will have their unique logo on their jewelry pieces. The logo is the visual mark that represents my customer's brand, and even though I'm not a jewelry designer, what I can say is, having had conversations with those who've shared their stories about their establishing their brand and the thought that goes behind the creation of their logo, it's sometimes not easy at all. Often the first thing customers see and remember about a brand is their logo. And what we've done in-house here, that a logo can be a simple word mark, a graphic symbol, or even a combination of both. So yeah, I'm sure and appreciate that a fair bit amount of thought and time has been put behind the creation of our customers' logos. So let's talk about how we get these logos and hallmarks on the jewelry pieces for our customers. One of the first methods we use is individually hand stamping the customer's logo as well as the hallmark, so i.e. 925 of its sterling silver, one by one, by hand onto the jewelry piece. Remember that Thai Design Distributors has been around for a good 50 odd years, so back in the day, like 20-30 years ago, the majority of our customers were wholesalers. Many of them remain our customers today. But as they would distribute the mass-produced jewelry that we produce directly to retailers who are not brands, they may not have a logo, but they will require the metal hallmark on their pieces, which is the legal requirement, at least in the United Kingdom. So all the jewelry that we manufacture still needs to have the hallmark of, say, 95 if it's sterling silver, or 375 if it's 9 karat gold, 750 carat if it's 18 carat, and so forth. But sometimes our brand customers will prefer the stamped logo and hallmark, and this really depends on the jewelry in question that we're producing for them. Jewelry, for example, that is heavier, chunkier, more organic in texture, for instance, and where the finish is more of a matte or a barrel polish, as opposed to a super high finish, they may opt for a logo that looks more heavily stamped into the metal. We have many of these small hand tools that sometimes we use daily depending on the orders from our customers. But 20 odd years ago, not all manufacturers or suppliers use laser engraving machines because back then there weren't as many on the market as there are now, and they were more expensive. So a lot of our customers were used to hand stamping. I'm a little old school, so I still love the thought of handmade tools still being utilized and the logos leaving a more deeper imprinted look and feel into the metal. So to me, it just creates more of an organic and unique texture, and you know, kind of shows off the artisanal craftsmanship behind silver making. And a few of our customers, especially those who are silversmiths, have made and given us their logo tool for us to use. Again, I can't disclose images to you, but it's still nice to know that we are still hand stamping logos and there's a demand for it. So in terms of the process, our silversmiths have to use a fair bit of pressure to stamp the logo or hallmark into the metal. If the pressure is too light, then it may fade away during the polishing stage. So it's really important that the right amount of pressure is applied. Now, having our laser engraving machine behind me in-house has made a huge difference to our production timeline and is more cost efficient too. We're not having to outsource the lasering by sending it off, waiting for the work to be done and sent back and paying for the shipment, of sending. But by doing this in-house, it means that, we can manage and be more in control when it comes to quality checking too. I remember back when we used to outsource the lasering, sometimes the pieces wouldn't come back correct. So, for example, a word may have been misspelled, or the logo or hallmark was lasered in the incorrect size, or even the incorrect location. So if you are working with a jewellery manufacturer that does the laser engraving in-house, this should definitely save time and money for both parties, as opposed to them outsourcing the engraving. So yeah, make sure that you check with your supplier. If they are outsourcing the lasering, then there is more of a risk that the supplier has less in control in managing those expectations and could potentially impact the delivery schedule of sending out those goods, especially because lasering is basically done after casting or stamping and filing, but before polishing. I can say this because we used to outsource ourselves for the laser engraving, and we had to be really strict and ensure that the laser engraving company understood our specifications. So once a manufacturer has laser engraved the jewellery, they still have to be cleaned afterwards, as the lasering will leave black stains on the piece. Once they're cleaned and polished, we'll then be able to package and send the goods. Nushi, who is head of our laser engraving, can sometimes laser engrave up to 300 to 500 pieces a day on our laser machine. And this great piece of equipment behind me uses high power pulse fiber laser configuration. The pulse frequency and width of the laser are independently controlled and has a high speed marking application. And I love the fact that this laser machine allows us to laser teeny tiny logos and writing onto the metal, just due to the accuracy of the marking, which converges at the very narrow point. So the last and third method that allows us to achieve the logo and hallmarking on jewelry pieces is if the logo and hallmark is already embedded into the CAD design. So actually, we have a number of customers who are sending us STL files and their jewelry design already has the logo embedded in there. This means that we simply 3D print the resin, make the mold and cast a master or sample, knowing that the logo and hallmark is on there. Therefore, it won't require any extra steps or work after casting, such as hand stamping or laser engraving. It sounds ideal, but there are issues, so please take note for anyone who is creating their logos and planning on having it embedded into the CAD. I mentioned it where, we talked about a sufficient amount of pressure being required to hand stamp a logo into the metal. But our silversmiths have experience doing this for years. And as I said, we need to have the right amount of pressure, otherwise it'll fade away slightly after polishing. So we don't want the same to happen with logos that's embedded into the CAD. You go through all that work, printing a resin, making a mold and master, etc. So you have to be super sure that the logo is nice and visible after filing and polishing the items. Therefore, we have to be a bit picky, and when we're reading the CAD design initially, we have to make sure that the logo in the CAD is at least 0.3 to 0.5 millimeter depth, and that the width is wide enough and large enough so that after shrinkage from the 3D print all the way to the casted piece, that you can still see the hallmark and logo and it's really clear. It's all these checks that my development team have to tick off the checklist. And that's why, I always say that during development of samples, it can take some time because there's a back and forth between us and the customer to ensure that we get a perfect CAD before we start running into any risk once we 3D print the resin. Customers have paid the development deposit, they've paid for all the prototypes, so it's up to us to tick all our checklists first, and we're not able to amend the size of the logo or mark. It's very much a slowly but surely process. Typically, our customers will decide whether they want their logo and or hallmark laser engraved or hand stamped based on what they feel will match or look appropriate to the final look and texture of the jewelry piece. I can't disclose images of our customers' jewelry, of course, but as you know, let's say for example, our Scandinavian or German customers who designs may be, let's say, more simplistic yet precise, geometric, they may prefer a more detailed and crisp logo. Whereas we have customers where their jewelry is more chunky and heavy, so they may prefer a more deeper and organic look to their logo. So as you're designing and sketching the jewelry, just think of these things like the size and design of your logo and how you'd like it to look on the overall jewelry piece. The logo is usually either on the back of the actual piece, let's say on a pendant, or if it's small enough, it may be on the jump ring on the back of the bail where the chain goes through, or on a small tag which will dangle at the end of the chain. With rings, you'll see the logo typically in the inside of the band. The logo and hallmark is always a little discreet, yet it's still noticeable to the wearer. Well guys, hopefully this gives you some clarity and helps you have a better understanding of the various methods that we use here every day at my manufacturing plant in achieving those logos and hallmarks that you see on jewelry pieces. Again, thank you so much for watching, thank you for your support, and don't forget to please like this video and of course subscribe to the channel where I'll be sharing more tips and information related to jewelry production. Thank you again, take care and see you guys soon. Bye!